working to restore our caucus and convention system. I had a chance to meet Brandon and spend some time with him when he came down to St. George a couple years ago, fighting this battle. He was down there handing out T-shirts and educating our delegates and our voters in St. George about this important issue. I'm very pleased to have the director of Keep My Voice here today, Brandon Beckham. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. Can everybody hear me okay? He's going to just pull up the website for you. I'm passionate about the caucus convention and preserving it. I'm passionate about our republic. That stems from my passion about the Constitution. I don't know why, but it's basically just built into my soul. And the history in our family with the Constitution being so important goes back to my dad, who worked with Cleon Scouts in Southern California doing the seminars. He was an instructor, and he did that as a volunteer, and that just kind of carried over into me and my siblings as well. And so I'm here to talk to you about how our caucus convention process here in Utah and the republic which we have are both linked together, and both are inspired of God for the protection of our liberty and our republic. This topic I'm going to speak about today, I'm going to cover three aspects. One is the history of caucuses as it pertains to our republic. The other is how Count My Vote and Senate Bill 54 are destroying them. And lastly, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what Keep My Voice is doing to stop it. So caucuses are fundamentally an American method to preserving Republican government. In a speech urging ratification of the U.S. Constitution, Alexander Hamilton boldly challenged any notion that America was intended to be a direct democracy. He said, quote, "It has been observed that a pure democracy, if it were practicable, would be the most perfect government. Experience has proved that no position is more false than this." Fact. The United States is not a democracy. Everybody in this room gets that. It is a republic. Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution says, "The United States shall guarantee to every state in the Union a republican form of government. But as Franklin said, only if we can keep it." Caucuses and conventions actually go hand in hand with our republic. In fact, the word caucus is so American, it's purely American. Let me explain where it comes from. So in the founding era, during the early 1700s, Deacon Adams, father of Sam Adams, was an influential leader in Boston politics. He held these political meetings where he would meet down at the shipping yard in Boston Harbor. And these were the places where they caulked the ships to make them seaworthy. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically it's an oakum material of tarred fibers that is used to put into the wooden deck and the hull to make it watertight. These meetings were consequently called the caulker meetings. And over the years, this term morphed into caucus. The first caucus group was formed in 1719. That was called the Boston Caucus. The founder was Elijah Cook Jr. and Sam Adams' father, Deacon Adams. The main objectives of the caucus were to champion the economic and political rights of ordinary citizens. They did this by meeting together, discussing the items of concern of the current time, and determine who they would actively support for political office. Sam Adams, like his father, greatly participated in the caucuses of Boston. John Adams and Paul Revere were also members. Sam Adams and other patriots utilized the caucus to shape the Boston town meetings, to push back on Parliament's township acts, and organize a boycott, and to support the efforts of the Sons of Liberty, and also to form the important committees of correspondence, as we all know, were important and ultimately helped to propel America to independence and the formation of a new nation. So yes, our nation was founded on caucus Caucus meetings, local caucus meetings. Our pioneer ancestors here in this valley had a similar commitment to this type of political organizing. And after they arrived here in the Salt Lake Valley, they immediately quickly set up a system of town and local caucuses. Utah has been a caucus state ever since, except for one little period of time which took place in the late 30s and early 40s. And we shifted to a direct primary system. I want to explain how that happened. There was a man, a senator here in Utah named Herbert Ma. He had a selfish appetite for power, apparently. He wanted to become governor. He was a Democrat, and he lost twice at convention in his bid for governor. The delegates, the Democratic delegates at the time just couldn't support him because why? Well, he had strayed from their platform, and his voting record indicated that, so they had concerns. Well, he calculated that if he could circumvent the caucus convention process, he would be able to utilize his money and name ID to win the governorship. So he convinced his colleagues in the legislature to dump the caucus system and put in and install a direct primary. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Not coincidentally, he actually won the governorship there right after. Within a decade of the implementation of the direct primary system, there was a cry for a repeal. In 1946, the Deseret News editorial board lamented that the cost of primary runoffs was high and voter participation had dropped to a historic low of 10%. They further observed that the direct primary system made it possible for, quote, political machines to select candidates who, quote, do not adequately represent the party whose standards they bear. Without some form of caucus convention system, the state risked, quote, crooks and rogues being swept into office. Seems like we're repeating history, are we? We don't seem to learn from the mistakes that we make in the past. The following year, the legislature then repealed the direct primary and implemented the current system, or the system that was before SB 54, which is actually, I think, the best system in the United States. And it's a hybrid system. It's a balanced system. It includes neighborhood caucus meetings. It includes nominating conventions, primary elections, an alternative route or ballot path if you're unaffiliated, and also a write-in for candidates, and a general election. So this was the system from 1946 to 2015 when Senate Bill 54 went into effect. I want to talk about what Senate Bill 54 and Count My Vote are doing to destroy this great state. I've been to all 48 lower 8 states, and I can tell you Utah is a unique place. We have a system that's actually it's basically linked to our founding. It's more linked to our founding than any other election process in the country. But despite Utah and America's deep foundation in caucus systems, there are those who want to repeat the mistakes of the past and install a direct primary. A group calling itself Count My Vote, as many of you know, has lobbied tremendously to change the system. And Count My Vote sounds like a nice, a movement of the people, right? But just the opposite is the truth. If you actually look at what's behind the name, you'll see that it's a who's who of political power brokers and high-dollar political donors. This isn't a grassroots movement. This is a top-down movement. Anybody should be suspicious of this. CMV has tried to convince Utah, contrary to historical experience, that their efforts would increase voter participation. But we already know by history that that's not true. They've also tried to package their effort as an expansion of party and voter choice rather than telling us the truth that it's a restrictive mandate. Let's be truthful and say it like it is. CMV's real intent is to get their candidates on the ballot using the Republican brand. They want to seize the brand, but not go through our vetting process and our screening process to make sure candidates actually support the values that we espouse as Republicans, conservatives, and so forth. This is their goal, but they've packaged it another way to appeal to the masses. Why is CMV, or Count My Vote, why are they so scared of the caucus system? Anybody have an idea? Could it be that they actually don't align with the values of the party that they're trying to get on the ballot for? Could it be that they don't have good records that would be scrutinized by delegates that are otherwise not scrutinized in a direct primary system? I want to give you an example. So I got involved in Utah politics. I had no desire to be in Utah politics. I went to school, film school. I started a production company, a media production company. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I started doing a pre-production on a documentary about the Constitution after Barack Obama was elected. And the idea was, hey, you know, let's see where the political climate is. Are we at some sort of crossroads here? We have the president and his people talking about changing the country fundamentally, transforming. And then you have other people that were like, you know what, wait a minute, we have our republic, we have our Constitution, we need to preserve this and stay on that path. So in researching this and doing all the pre-production work, I met all these Tea Party leaders, and I met folks that were just normal day average citizens trying to make a difference to make sure that we had good government, good leaders in government, good policy, and that our values were protected. And I said, you know what, I want to be involved. I want to do something. So they said, hey, go become a delegate. I'm like, oh, delegate, what is this? So I went to my caucus meeting. My brother nominated me, and then I was elected a state delegate in 2010. And shortly thereafter, I started realizing what an amazing system this is. This is sort of a natural grassroots system that helps us sort of have a more grassroots influence over our state politics. And then I got a call from Senator Bennett's office. And he was asking me and several other delegates to meet with him in Salt Lake City at his office. He wanted to, quote unquote, hear our concerns. When I got there, I wasn't in awe because I was next to a senator. I was in awe because the power of the caucus system and the delegate system that we have actually let me have a word about the concerns of our communities. And I was very surprised at how powerful it was. And I was also surprised at the fact that Senator Bennett wasn't exactly, let's just say, humble about the whole situation. He was very condescending. He said, you don't know what it's like to be in D.C. You listen to me. I know what it's like, you know? And he didn't really hear our concerns. It was more about talking down to us, and I was really surprised about it. And I told the senator, I am kind of bold at times, but I said, hey, Senator, I don't think you realize what's happened here in the state. You've become disconnected. I'm paraphrasing. But essentially said, oh, I've got all the support I want. You know, you guys don't know what happens in D.C. And he didn't address the concerns we had about his voting record and the fact that he had basically strayed from the Republican Party platform in many ways. And you guys know what happened after that. So CMV eliminates, what CMV does is it eliminates the meaningful participation of Utah's neighborhood caucuses. It is in violation of our constitutional rights. We are currently awaiting a ruling from the federal court on the merits of this bill, if it's constitutional or not. Keep My Voice is an organization that is started way back in 2013 as Keep Our Caucus. I've got 30 seconds. I'm going to take a little bit longer because I need to get this all finished here. But Keep My Voice is running an initiative. And I'm going to explain why we're doing this. The legislature will not fix the problem. In the House, we have support. In the Senate, because a certain somebody there, or a couple, don't want to have that come to the floor for a vote. The sponsor of SB 54, Kurt Bramble, for example, he received $7,500 directly from Count My Vote after that bill passed. He also received another $18,500 from their financial backers. The purpose of the Keep My Voice initiative, it's called the Freedom of Association Initiative. All we're doing is restoring what was there before SB 54, okay? We're not getting rid of the signature path. That path was always there for unaffiliated candidates. They can still do that. CMV, or Count My Vote, has lied about that since day one. Okay? It's always going to be there. What we're doing is saying, okay, let's go back and restore the neighborhood elections and make them meaningful again, because otherwise, your caucus meetings, when you go to them, they are going to be pointless. You elect a delegate? Pointless. Why? Because of SB 54, anyone can put their name on a ballot, and then they undermine anything that the party chooses as a nominee, and so forth. You will have less of a voice in your grassroots movements, in dealing with issues like the marijuana issue, dealing with issues like the CONCON or whatever. This is a fundamental aspect of a Republican form of government in Utah. The purpose of the initiative is to do the following. We're going to safeguard the rights of people in Utah to freely associate with their political party of choosing, to protect the people's and their political party's right to nominate and select candidates and leaders of their choosing. And third, to ensure the right of people to meaningfully assemble in their local communities and neighborhood caucuses is preserved. We summon the help of all of you here and everyone in Eagle Forum and conservatives around the state. We cannot do it without you. We need your help. This is a daunting task, as you know, but we're using this opportunity to go into the communities and educate people on why it's important. We're not just going to go there and say, hey, look, get on board. We're going to educate them. We need resources. We need volunteers. Lastly, I'll just leave with this. Visit keepmyvoice.org. You can donate. You can sign up to help. We have plenty of room for volunteers that we need. And I just ask this question. Can we keep our republic? I firmly believe we can, but it depends on all of us. It depends on people who really care about the Constitution, care about these principles, and are willing to put the action on the ground. So I ask you for your support. I thank you for allowing me to speak here in front of you. And let's do this. Let's help save our caucus system, and let's keep the state Utah. Thank you.